So the basic premise of the acceleration is that we need to move from this stationary position up to maximum speed as quickly as possible. So to do this, we need to apply huge forces to the ground, and we also need to position our body so that all of our forces are aligned down the track and that we're positioned in a way that we can apply horizontal forces to the ground. So this is why we generally adopt this low starting position at the beginning of the race. In lowering our center of mass, it deepens this knee angle for us to push against the ground, and it gives us more time to apply force, so we can apply higher forces in the start. Later on, as those force requirements diminish, we can come up into a higher hip position with lower knee angles that allow us to increase our stride length and our stride frequency for our top end running speed. So our basic acceleration positions are those that are going to allow us to push against the ground and align our forces down the track. So for this, we take this forward lean of the trunk. So now we can see that our body is orientated through that 45-degree angle. So when I push against the ground, it's going to push me through that 45-degree angle as well. So what we're looking for here is that with every step, we maintain this body position, and we're looking to strike back with our foot under the hip. Anytime the foot strikes ahead of the body, our shin's going to be pointing up and our force is going to go up. And even further ahead, we're going to get this braking effect. We have to wait to clear the foot before we can push. So with every step, we maintain this position and we're trying to strike back directly under the hip, ready to push down the track. Now, as we strike down under the hip, our job is now to apply as much horizontal force as possible. So we should see this driving leg push all the way through to full extension. So we call this triple extension because we have the hip, the knee, and the ankle all in line and all fully extended. But if we get it right, we should see that this should align with our trunk position. So now we have all of our forces going in the same direction. And this is how we apply large forces in the acceleration. Now this is just one step of the acceleration, but we need to apply this same force through this same line for every single step until we reach our maximum running speed. So what we're looking to do is, as we drive this leg through to its full extension, this free knee should arrive at its high knee position, ready to strike back down on the next step. So the timing of this is really important. As this foot reaches its triple extension position through the line of our body, we want to see our free knee in a high knee position, and ideally matching up the shin angle of this free knee with our trunk angle and the shin angle of our back leg, so that as we strike back down on the ground, we're going to create that same straight line and straight angle. So at this point, we should have this full extension from our shoulder, hip, knee, and ankle, and we should have our free knee driving down the track and stepping back under our hip to create that same straight line. Now we're in some compromised positions here because our center of mass is always forwards of us, which helps us to fall forwards and move down the track. But this is where we need to use our arms to counterbalance the leg action and create balance in our running. So the bigger we are with our legs, the bigger we need to be with our arms. So we should have an aggressive driving back of the arm to counterbalance that aggressive push that we have with our rear leg. The front knee is not quite so extended, so we should be driving from the shoulder, from the forearm, to counterbalance what we're doing in our leg action. Also, to help with our balance, we can think about where we're going to be looking. Now, some people like to look down at the ground, but this creates this arching in our back and we can't create our straight line. The better thing to do is to hold our head in a nice neutral position, and that helps to pull our spine into alignment and to align with the force we're putting down the track. So these are the basic mechanics and positions we're looking for in our acceleration. But the positions our athletes are able to hit is going to be dependent on their body shape or their anthropometrics and their strength abilities. The shorter and more powerful athletes will be able to hit lower angles, maybe 35 to 45 degrees, but taller athletes like me and our younger athletes who aren't quite as strong aren't going to be able to get out from these positions. So they're likely to be between 45 and 55 degrees. So our shorter athletes and our more powerful athletes are going to be able to hit lower angles out of the blocks, and this allows them to apply more horizontal force, which is why we often see these shorter and more powerful athletes being first in the race over the first 30 meters. Athletes like myself, who are slightly taller and are younger athletes who don't have the strength capabilities, are going to have to hit slightly higher angles out of the blocks, which is going to cost them in the beginning, but it's the right position to help them to climb into that upright running mechanics later on in the race. Now, it's difficult for us from the beginning to say what's the perfect positions and the perfect angles for our athletes to achieve, given that each athlete will have a unique anthropometrics and unique strength capabilities. So a good way to start learning the acceleration is to allow them to play with the movement by putting them into compromised positions where they have to experiment with the movement and find what works for them. So games like fun starts or cutting and acceleration games are a great way to introduce this movement and allow our students to play with the movement themselves and find their own unique movement expression for the acceleration. So here's some examples of some acceleration exercises we can use to force our athletes into this triple extension position and to teach them how to move from this low start position into a high running position. And in the next lesson, we're going to look at that upright sprinting mechanics we want to see at the end of our acceleration phase.